and a very warm welcome from Kerry in Ireland, Eire, and we're in the TBM930 and we're just at sunrise in this newly updated, refurbished atmospheric. I mean, look at that, it's just fantastic, these new effects that they've introduced, environmental effects in MSFS, absolutely stunning, really gorgeous. Anyway, we're in the TBM and we're going to be flying up to one of my favourite airports in Ireland. It's Sligo, so we're in Kerry at the moment. Echo India Kilo Yankee, and we're going to be flying to Sligo Echo India Sierra Golf, and we're going to be flying it in the TBM 930, and we're going to start right from the beginning with the flight planning. So let's get that underway. Let me bring up Navigraph charts and we'll do a new flight. And as you can see, we're positioned at the moment down here in Kerry, so we'll select that as the departure, so EIKY, Kerry, and then we'll do a destination which is EISG for Sligo. We need to add a couple of waypoints in, but also we need to add an arrival and a departure, then an arrival. So let's have a look. The runways at the moment, the wind is coming from the southwest, I believe. So we've got 210 at 14 knots. So we want to go from runway 26 at Kerry, and we'll just click on the departures to see what we've got available. And there we go. So the SHA-3 Alpha looks good. I don't know what the difference is between the Alpha and the Beta. I don't know, we'll go for Alpha, and then we'll go from the VOR Sierra Hotel Alpha. I'm just going to change the map. I'm going to go back to the IFR map. So there we go, we got our departure to the southwest, then it's a turn to the north and then to the northeast to Shannon. So let's add something, let's add Connaught, this NDB, we'll add that to the route. Going to go after Shannon, of course. So we've got Shannon, then we've got Connaught, and that'll do it. It's not a very long flight, it's only 120 miles or something like that. And we'll just look at the arrival now. So Sligo, it's got an easterly wind, so we want to land into the east, so runway 10, and then we'll just select our arrival. So we're going to do the NDB, but we'll let the aircraft fly the whole thing. We're not going to intervene, we're going to let the airplane do the whole route. So we'll select NDB DME Yankee runway 10. There we go, and we'll add that to the route. And the only other thing is really we need to go direct to the NDB. It's got two nav aids on the field at Sligo. One is the NDB Sierra Lima Golf, and one is the DME Sierra Lima Golf. Okay, so that's the distance, not a VOR, that's just the DME. So we want to go direct to Sierra Lima Golf, the NDB. So I'm just going to go into the edit line up here, and I'm going to add direct DCT SLG. There we go. Press done, and that should now give us a solid line. No, oh, I've got two directs. Let me just get rid of that direct there. SLG, there we go. So it goes direct from Connaught somewhere. Goodness me, where is it? There it is, Connaught, which is okay. I love that code. Direct to SLG, and then we've got the NDB, which is a very scenic, a fairly straightforward approach. And we'll do a full briefing now. So here's Kerry on the apron, just by the terminal. We'll join the runway at hold Alpha, backtrack all the way up here, and then take off to the south west. The departure will be so straight on between 1400 and 4500 feet. So at 4 dear me, I think that is. It's a right turn. We're going to let the aeroplane do it anyway. It's a right turn to Shannon, and that's quite a long leg. That's 42 miles, that leg there. So we'll fly maybe. Let's get the overall route direction. So it is from west to east. It'll be odds. So we'll fly at flight level. Let's see if we can get up to 210. Probably we can in the TBM. Might be a little bit high, but we'll see how that pans out. So we've got the departure. So it's a right turn and then direct to Shannon. And this is between 2,800 and 4,000. So we'll make sure the aircraft doesn't exceed that. And Shannon, it's saying at 4,000, but no, we're going to go above that because I'm going to fly the whole route at 4,000 feet. Let's check the other. Let's just check the other one. Maybe the other one was the one to go for. Let's do that. Look at that chart. No, that's still at 4,000 feet. That's not the one we want. Okay, so we'll stick with the SHA 3 Alpha, but we're going to climb way above 4,000 for this. Alright, and in fact probably this one here, we might exceed that. ATC are going to be very kind to us. They're going to say no altitude restrictions, climb as much as you like. But the aircraft is capable of, managing VNAV, at least for descent. So we've got the departure, then it's a straight leg all the way through 73 miles to Connaught, and then it's another leg of 22 miles to Sligo. Sligo will be coming overhead this NDB 384, outbound on a heading of 301, on the track of 301 to 7 DME from the DME. Then it's a left turn to Furka, and at Furka, and that is overhead at 3,500, descending to 1,800, left turn to Furka 1,800, and then at Furka we initiate a 2.35 gradient descent to our minimums 520. And our ground speed will probably be between 120 and 140. I would imagine closer to 120. Now 120 knots ground speed, our descent rate should be about 500 feet in order to get to the the minimum descent altitude. Because of course this is an NDB DME and it's a non-precision approach. So therefore you don't have a decision height, you have an MDA. Right, so with all that in mind, let's get this section of the route copied. Of course there's no star, so we're just going to copy the SID all the way through to the Sligo NDB. Copy. Going to go to SimBrief, create new flight, and we're going to do Echo India Kilo Yankee, Echo India Sierra Golf, and then we're going to select TBM. I think there's a TBM900 somewhere here. TBM900, that's close enough. That's giving us the same route, look at that. Oh no, it hasn't. Okay, so I'm just going to paste in our route. There it is. Runway 26, runway 28 is wrong. I'm going to change that to runway 10. Okay, and it says the route is valid. 144 miles. And we're going to save the flight. And then we're going to generate the flight. What we want is the fuel. Okay, so it's 409 kilos of fuel, and the alternate is Dublin over here, which is nearly as far as a whole flight. Okay, so 409 kilos of fuel, plus a little bit from the captain's discretion. So Fuel, we've got, there we go, look, 50% fuel is 457. I'm going to stick with that. And we've just got 2 pilots, captain, co-pilot today, or captain and instructor, or whichever way you want to think of it. So without further ado, let's get into the aircraft and get it fired up. Okay, so as always, just check that the door is, I do like the door, it's lovely, isn't it? I just wanted to do that. Okay, so we'll hide the yoke, and we'll get this is called the crash bar. I thought it was called the bus bar, but it's not, it's the crash bar. So we'll open up the crash bar, we'll go to battery power, generator can come on, we can get cockpit lighting on, we're going to get our nav lights to tell people that the aircraft is live. We only want crew oxygen on, don't need passenger oxygen. We need the fuel pump go auto, the fuel selector to go auto, and the autopilot trim to come on. Okay, so that's all good. Come down here, get the middle, get the multi-function display running. And we want to bring in now the flight plan. So we go to, first thing to do is to select it from being the PFD controller to the multi-function controller. There we go, that's the PFD now. So we'll go to SimBrief, and there is our Kerry to Sligo. So we'll crest it, and we'll import it. Alright, and then we go to procedures. So we've got the departure, but we need to put the approach in. So the approach is going to be the, let's just bring it back on the screen so we don't guess. So it is going to be the NDB DME Yankee runway 10. So it's NDB Yankee 10, that one there. And the initial approach fix was, if you remember, Sligo. So we go overhead the NDB here and outbound. So that's the initial approach fix there, SLG. So SLG, and we'll load it. And it's giving us the usual warning. We're happy with that. Okay. So let's get the QNH set. Oh gosh, low pressure, 990, look at that. We can double check that. So if we go to the chart at Kerry, and we look at the elevation of the airport, 1112, pressing B should give us 1112 on the altitude, but it actually hasn't. Now that's interesting. Okay, what's happening here? Yeah, if you dial in the QNH, you should get the altitude of the airport, 112. Let's look at here the weather, Kerry, and the QNH 990. Okay, I'm going to run with it. Maybe there's something I'm missing. Don't know. Okay, so we're ready to start. So we'll put our strobe light on. Strobe light can come on. We're not going to use the pulse lights today. So we've got battery on, generator on. Everything here is set. So we put I just need to check the throttle is in the right place. No, it's not. So we're going to bring it back across the gate. And if you remember, you click the wheel of the mouse down and hold, and then right click at the same time, and that moves the throttle across the gate. So click the wheel down and then right click. So there we go, it's into fuel cutoff at the moment. The manual override is off, flaps are up, so we can hit the start. There we go, and we're going to wait for the NG to rise. I'm going to wait till it gets to about 10. 10 we have, so So that can come up one notch. There we go. The prop is spinning. Okay. And when the NG gets into the green band, which it has, we can go into idle. There we go, taxi. So, got a good start. Everything is as it should be. Got a couple of warnings saying that the door is open. Well, that's not the case. I'm pretty sure the door is closed. Let's just do that. Back door. Is the back door open? No. I don't know. Maybe that will disappear in a sec. Right, so we want the static and pitot heat and the bleed to come on. So bleed can come on. We're in the idle position, so the inertial separator should come on to make sure it doesn't suck in any little stones and debris from the or FOD. From the apron, and pitot heat, stall heat should come on. So it's still telling us that the door is open. I'm not quite sure why it's doing that. Traffic is off at the moment, so we're going to switch that on. So what we need to do is to move from the active map pane to the TCAS page. So we're going to use the large part of this upper knob here, so that goes into blue. Then we're going to do traffic. Where is traffic, and on. There we go. So it's gone from being standby to on. Okay, so that's on. We can come back and make sure the map is on full, is the selected component of this display. And next thing we need to do is to get the MCP sorted out. So we've got 4,000 feet as the first constraint, if you remember, 4,100, and we're going to climb at 135 knots. We go to flight level change, and we're going to dial in 135 knots. Okay, 135 is set. Flight level change. And now we can get our flaps down to takeoff position. Okay, and we're ready for taxi. So we'll just check that the path ahead of us is clear. We've got the truck there, so we'll just nose to the left a little bit to avoid that truck. So let's get our taxi light on. Have a quick look at the aircraft. There we go. Fabulous, really. Absolutely fabulous. Okay, so parking brake is off, and we'll give it a little bit of power. Oh, there's somebody there. I missed him. Oh well. I won't tell if you won't. Right, so let's taxi across to the runway. Just do a quick brake check. Brakes are working. Okay. We'll come to a stop before we enter the runway. Okay, so strobe is on, so we just get our landing light on. We've got clearance to line up. So looking out to our right, we're clear. Looking out to our left, we're clear. Although we didn't see the chap on the apron just now, so maybe I needn't have bothered looking, because obviously I'm not going to see anything today. Okay, so let's taxi off. Now, do we need the whole length of the runway? Answer is no. This is a 2,000 foot runway. and this aircraft will take off in really not very much. They did a demo flight of the 930 at a little airport called Cedar Keys in Florida, and it's the shortest paved runway in America. I think it's something like 2,300 feet. And they did a demo flight with, this is with Steve Canevo, who's a YouTuber who used to fly the TBM930, and he took the 930 out, the TBM930, with the Daha, I guess, demo pilot, and they flew it in and out of Cedar Keys. So yeah, really, it's capable of very short field. But we're not going to win any awards if we don't use the whole runway. We may as well. Nobody else around, and there's nothing more useless than runway behind you and altitude above you. Okay, so just coming up to the threshold. Right, just bring that power lever back to idle and just slow down gradually. Just creep over to the right hand side so we can turn left. The reason we do that is because then I get a better view of it, because I'm sitting on the left. Okay, so we're pretty much set to go. What I'm going to do, I'm going to go down here, I'm going to go to radio, I'm going to go to transponder, I'm going to put my squawk in, 2526, altitude 2526, altitude reporting is on, enter. Okay, so I've got the squawk in, and I want also to get a timer running. So I'm just going to go to the home page, so the PFD, then we're going to go to timers, and I'm going to start the timer, because it's always good to log your flight time. So press start, there we go, seconds are ticking up, so we can get going. Alright, so we're going to press the heading knob so we've got something to follow. We'll go on heading mode to start with, and then when we're establishing the climb, we'll go to nav mode, which is that one there. Okay, so let's get going. Alright, bring the power up, make sure we don't exceed any T's and P's. Right, so full power we've got. Just looking very closely at those T's and P's. Bit of forward pressure. Right, we're in the white band here on the airspeed. Looking for rotate 85 knots. We have, so around we go. So we're in the air. Positive rate of climb we've got. Gear can come up. 115 knots. Flaps can come up. It all happens very quickly. Very, very fast aircraft. We want to climb at 135 knots. Okay, so we're establishing the climb so we can get our nav on. And we can get our autopilot on. Autopilot is on. Nav, flight level change, and flight director is on. So, aircraft is climbing 135. It's just gonna, that's what I had set. And we're on flight level change, so it will come back now from the 145 that I was at when I pressed the autopilot. It'll bring it back to 135. And I just need to keep an eye on the T's and P's. We're nearly exceeding the ITT. In fact, there we go. So it's going to bring that back now. We really don't want to blow up this engine. It costs millions of pounds. We really don't want to do that. Okay, so we're nearly at 4,000 feet. And we'll just stick at this altitude until we get to that first waypoint on the departure. I'm going to press the heading knob, which is good airmanship. So we're now at 4,000 feet. Got no speed restriction, but we don't go too fast. We'll just bring the power back a little bit. Now we've got this little magenta band here that shows us where our speed is going to be in about 5 seconds or something like that. So let's try and dial in 180 knots using that little magenta thing there. Okay, so it's going to tell me that the speed in about 5 seconds is 180 knots. I can bring my power back a little bit, and I can use that speed vector to help me set my speed. Now there's no amber there, so I know it's going to hold that speed. It's just appearing a little bit more. Of course, it will work when you reduce your speed as well. So if I just pull back the throttle, there you go. See, now it goes the other way. So, wait, back up to 180 just for this turn. Okay, so as soon as we got past that first waypoint, in fact what we can do is we can go to MFD, we can go to this side, we can get charts on, and we can go to departure. There we go, that's the chart there. Press this knob at the bottom here, and we can zoom in on that chart. So we're just coming around the corner now to that waypoint, and then we'll start climbing again. Okay, so what we should also check is the transition level, which is 5,000 feet, so we're good on the QNH at the moment. Such a capable aircraft, this. So we can now climb. So we'll climb up to, what did we say? I think flight level 210. So I'm going to hit flight level change. Aircraft will start to climb at the speed that it is at when you hit FLC. I want to dial it back down to 135. In fact, let's just dial it down to 162. We'll just do a cruise climb, that'll do, and I need to go up to flight level 210 on the altitude selector. Right, 210, just coming up to 5,000 feet. To standard pressure. Okay, so all the housekeeping is done. We're good. Let's have a quick look outside and enjoy the view. These new atmospheric scattering effects are just gorgeous. Look at that. So it's a cruise climb that we're doing. Oh, big wind farm down there. It's a cruise climb that we're doing, so we've got a nice high ground speed, 198, nearly 200 knots. This is a fast aircraft. So we can go back to, we can switch this off and go back to traffic. So press the home button, go back to traffic, and there we go. I'll just zoom out a bit. There we go. So, and I'm going to select the map back to getting the blue surround on the map, which is the larger part of this knob. There we go. Back to the map. So we're now flying direct to Shannon, and 32 miles to run, and we're climbing at 850 feet per minute, which is not very high. I was expecting that to be a bit higher, so let's bring the speed back now to 150. So using that wheel there, just dialed in 150, and the aircraft is now climbing. Power settings haven't changed, but the aircraft is now climbing. In fact, what I need to do is the reason it's not climbing very fast is because I didn't put the power back up. So let's do that now, shall we? Yeah. Not much for a teacher, really. There we go. So with a bit more power, look at that. That's much more useful, thank you very much. 3,000 feet per minute. I was wondering what was wrong. Okay, so just going up to 10,000, so the next event will be lights off. Lights off, so landing light can come off. Okay, so let's have a look. How are we doing for fuel? Fuel quantity is here, just less than half tanks. And remember, because this aircraft has got automatic fuel selector, it switches the tanks, feeds from the left, then the right, then the left, then the right. It alternates, I think 10 minutes or something, and you can actually see that happening. So at the moment it's feeding off the left tank. If we come back to that in a few minutes, we'll probably be on the right tank, and it does that automatically just to keep the fuel in balance, so you don't use fuel all from one side of the aircraft and make it lopsided. It won't fly right then. Right, so we've got a timer. We've been airborne 10 minutes. So I'm going to go back to the radio page. There we go. So one fault I did find with this, but it's a minor fault, is that you can't actually dial in the NDBs, which is a bit of a problem with Sligo, which is why we're going to let the airplane fly the whole thing, but also because I want to showcase the aircraft and its capability. But if I go to audio and radios, scroll down the list, ADF is there. I'll just bring up the charts very quickly. Sligo, we've got NDB 109, which we need to dial in, and 384 for the NDB 384 109. So let's try and dial in 384. See, can't actually enter the frequency. So that's a bit of a problem. We'll just go back, go up a notch, go to nav 1, and it was 109 we wanted. 109, enter. So we've got now the, oh hang on, we've got to transfer that, so there we go. So 109.00 is now the selected frequency. When you do transfer, you shift it from being standby to active. So I want to do that again. 109.00, just press transfer and it goes across. We'll switch it on. So now we should have a DME for Sligo, but that doesn't show anything here. So let's get PFD bearing 1 nav 1. Okay, so it's not come up yet, but when we're in range the DME will come here, will show here. Okay, so we're easily going to make flight level 210. We're climbing 2,250 feet per minute, and we're doing ground speed of 220 knots. And this is very fast. So, next event will be settling down for the cruise and preparing for our descent. So we're on the map here. Let's just zoom out a little bit. So that's Shannon, I think. Yeah, Shannon over there. Right, it's 1,000 to go. Oops, inertial separator can come off. Still saying that the door is not right. I don't quite understand that. I'm not going to touch it now. Right, so we're at flight level 210, and the speed is building. Right, so we got exceedance. Let's bring back our throttle. So 95%. Let's see, it's still creeping up a bit. Let's bring it back down. We don't really want to go that fast. Let's have a look around. Not far to run now to Shannon. We've got 3.5 miles to get to Shannon. So we go again outside. We look down there. There we go. Here would be Shannon. And now it's turning left. Next waypoint will be Connaught, which is the NDB with the code Oscar Kilo. Okay. That's 72 miles to run. Shannon to OK, 72 miles. And it's telling us that the ETA is 14 minutes. So let's zoom out a little bit on the map. across here, before we get to Connaught, we've got our top of descent. Now this aircraft is capable of VNAV for descents. Okay, so what we will do is we will look at the NDB approach again and get our facts and figures for it, and we'll dial in the altitude that we need to be overhead Sligo, the NDB, and we'll arm VNAV here. Now by default, as long as you're on the MFD setting here, go to the home page, go to, where is it, flight plan, VNAV, and it's enabled. So by default, VNAV is enabled. Doesn't mean that it's running it, it's set to run, but we haven't enabled it because we haven't gone to VNAV mode here. So back to the flight plan. Our top of descent is, it's hard to tell what the distance is, so it's not that far off. Getting to it quite quickly. So let's look at the chart, and the chart shows us we need to be overhead the NDB SLG at 3,500 feet, and as we go overhead we descend to 1,800 feet, so we go outbound on 301, so overhead 3,500 and then we descend to 1,800. So the first altitude is 3,500 now. This part of this chart shows us what's called the MSA, the minimum safety altitude. And in the quadrant that we're flying, so in other words, we're coming in from the south, here the MSA is 2,900 feet, and here the MSA is 3,300. So 3,500 feet is a safe altitude. We know that because it's telling us that is the MSA in this quadrant, which I think is 10 miles radius, I think. But anyway, so we know that 3,500 is a safe altitude for us to dial in. So let's dial in 3,500. is set. Notice that we're getting close to the top of descent, and we've got our top of descent markers now. Okay? See that? So we press VNAV, arm VNAV, little lights come on by it, not very clear in this particular image, but you'll also see V altitude, and here, so that is VNAV altitude, and the VNAV path is armed, it's in white, it's armed. So as this little chevron here, this little chevron triangle descends to the midpoint here, the aircraft will start to descend, as you can see. Here it goes. Okay, so we're descending now 700 feet per minute, 800 and so on and so forth. And it will manage to descend. We will get to Sligo at 3,500 feet. The speed is building as that happens, but we're okay at the moment. We're not exceeding anything, we're not breaking it, so we'll just carry on as we are. Okay, and we can zoom out on the map so we can actually see the next waypoint. Okay, Connaught is there. Connaught is 41 miles away. I'm going to get rid of the TCAS because I haven't actually got traffic running at the moment, so I'm going to replace that with the approach chart. So again, to do that, we need to select that half of the screen. We use the larger part of this knob, so just select that so it goes blue. Then we press charts, still showing the departure chart, so press chart again to get the list, and now we want the approach, and it knows that we're on the NDB Yankee runway 10, so we select that and we press this knob here, and it gives us the ability to move the map around by clicking and holding on this pad here. Zoom in a bit. Oops. So we've always got traffic showing on the co-pilot side. Good airmanship also to align the heading knob with your aircraft, so do that. And what we need to do is just look at the weather very quickly. So we go to, that's Kerry, we want to go to Sligo, weather. So the wind is 150 at 6 knots, variable between 120 and 200. All the 9s, so unlimited visibility. Few clouds, 2,200, scattered 4,500, temperature 6, dew point 5. So they're close together, QNH984. Those are close together. That's a worry because when the dew point is close to the temperature, you get fog. So just to remind ourselves again that when we get to Furka, we're looking at a descent to the minimum altitude of 520, and we'll be doing about 120 knots. So on this little table here, 120 knot ground speed is about 500 feet per minute. Of course that depends on the wind, so that's just a guide, just gives you an idea where to set your descent rate. Okay, so we're on the chart, we can leave that chart as it is now, we're happy with that. I'm going to go back to the map, so I go to MFD, select map, there we go, so we're on the map. Not very much to see. Well, some fantastic airfields in Ireland, and many of them are really nicely done. As well as you've got like downloads. But yeah, it's we should find here more. Like we said, we'd look at the fuel selector. Well, it's probably gone to the right tank and back to the left now. If I remember, we'll have another look at there to make sure it has gone to the right tank. But the fuel is in balance, so it's using equal amounts from both, so we know that it is working. And that does change. Just keep an eye on it. should just look at the air temperature, because we'll be going through some clouds shortly, and I need to remember where the air temperature is on this aircraft. So let's have a look. Is there an OAT, outside air temperature gauge, anywhere? There will be somewhere. Here, well, it's shown here. So outside air temperature -15. The airframe is going to be very cold and will be flying through visible moisture. So we should be ready with the anti-icing. We'll keep we've got anti-icing enabled at the moment. Sorry, not the aircraft anti-icing, but the simulator. And we should see any accumulation of ice. In fact, there's a bit of ice in the window, see that? Okay, so just coming down below 10,000, get our lights on. Ourselves where the anti-icing is. So airframe de-ice. Ice light is for night. It'll shine a light along the wing so you can see any ice there. Prop windshield. We're getting closer to Sligo now. In on the map. So we did set the DME. We're just approaching Connaught. But we did set the DME, and that hasn't come in yet. It should do. Right, so the next waypoint is Sligo. The approach is active, ready. But you would normally go here, activate approach. Okay, and there's no change because it was already active. A little bit below the descent profile. Just going to slow the aircraft down a little bit because we're 244 knots, so we're really quite fast. So I'm just going to slow it down. We've only got 17 to run to Sligo. DMU's here. So if you remember, when we get over Sligo NDB, it's outbound on heading 301. So we can prep that, we can get the heading knob set there. Now we can let the airplane fly it, but I just want to have that covered in case something goes wrong, so I can just press the heading knob and fly outbound on that heading. That's not really how you fly an NDB, but we can't tune in the NDB, so we've got to just make sure we've got the aircraft is flying, you know, as the prescribed route, as you can see here in the nav display. Right, so that VNAV path is still slightly below it. It is coming back in shortly, slowly. And we're nearly overhead Sligo. It's incredibly scenic around here. So I'm just going to slow the aircraft up. I'm going to come down to about 180 on the speed. We can come on to the local pressure, which is 984. Zoom in a bit more on the map. So we're now, DME is not coming in, so I'm not quite sure what the problem there is. So 180 on the speed, we're just levelling off at 3,500 on the QNH, and the aircraft is just slowing down because we're levelling off. I'm just going to add a bit of power to keep it, you know, 170 is fine really. And I use this little magenta part here to help me set the speed, so I know when the aircraft is slowing or accelerating. Okay, so we've got 3 to run to Sligo. The next event will be descent down to 1,800 feet, so I'll just prep that now, put that into the window. 1,800 is set. So we're turning now to our outbound course 301. The aircraft is still on the V path, so VNAV path, so it is now descending to 1,800 feet. You see, it's done it automatically. And it is on the outbound course 301. That's the airport down there. Is it? Or is it below us? I can't remember. No, Sligo is behind us. Of course it is. It's very scenic here. But it does often get a bit bashed by the weather. So we're going to have a change of tack when we get round this corner and back to this waypoint Furka here. We will dial in a descent of 500 feet per minute. We'll be slowed down to about 120 knots, gear down, flaps down, and hopefully that will bring us down to the MSA of 520 feet. 520 feet. We should add 500 onto that, not 550 feet onto that, for our IMC. I can't remember what they called it. Goodness me, it's been such a long time since I did this. But heck, we'll keep it at 520. Right, so just approaching 1,800. We're not going to change the power setting because it did give us 170 on the speed, if you remember. So we're happy with that. Perhaps we could slow down to 160. But no need yet because we're still got a short distance to go. With such a big propeller out front, yeah, it does slow down very, very quickly. Right, so we've not got icing now on the window, and there's nothing building up on the leading edge, even though we're going through some cloud. Remember, the airframe is cold. The temperature outside is 3 degrees. It's above 0, but the airframe is cold, so any visible moisture could. That was a big bump, wasn't it? Any visible moisture could stick to the airframe, but I think we're okay. Fuel sector still on the left. Maybe it doesn't move in this. I thought it did. I thought it actually physically moves. But maybe I'm just not catching it at the right moment. Okay, so we're coming up to our left turn. That's the next event. And we'll just brief ourselves again on the approach. So it's inbound on 108 to get to Furka, then it's a descent down to 5,200. Airspeed will be roughly around 120, so our descent rate will be 500 feet. We'll do that on vertical speed. So here we go around the corner. What was that inbound heading? 108, it's written here. So let's get 108 dialed into the heading up. Again, just as a precaution. Set. We'll just wait till the aircraft stabilises on the inbound heading 108, and we'll slow it down and dirty it up a bit. So inertial separator can come on. Stabilised now on the inbound heading 108, and just reduce speed, and you'll see that once you pull the power back on this, the speed really just drops off in very little time. There's no point in slowing down quite so dramatically. We've still got a short way to go, so we're going to zoom into the map a bit. Do it the wrong way. So we're on VNAV at the moment, so we'll switch VNAV off. We're going to select 520 on the altitude. I'm going to be ready with vertical speed, and I'm going to use the wheel here to dial in 500 feet per minute descent. So 130 knots, more or less. Coming into the white band, which means that that's the speed for the flaps. So pull the power back a little bit more, get into the white band. There we go. One stage of flap, gear can come down. I don't want to accelerate here. I don't want to go outside the white band. Thank you. There we go. That'll do nicely. Okay, so we've just come up to Furka. Going to get ready to dial in vertical speed, which is 0 at the moment, so we're not going up and we're not going down. And when we get to Furka, 500 feet per minute. Our ground speed is 129 knots. So our ground speed, not our airspeed, it's our ground speed that we need to consider. So we'll be going faster than the chart suggests. So let's go down 500 feet per minute. Okay, we might need to extend that to 600 feet per minute. So there we go, the aircraft is accelerating because we're going downhill. And can we see anything yet? Well, we can see the airport, which is there. This is an offset approach. So I'll just bring up the chart once more. We'll see here inbound 108 and the runway is runway 10. So it's slightly offset. So we'll have to do a bit of manoeuvring to get lined up. Okay, now I don't want to break that speed because at the moment we are outside of that white band here, and I don't want to be doing that. Not unless it's a really big repair bill. So I've got one stage of flap, one to go. Okay, so we're pretty good. I'm just going to get external view just so you can see that just the beauty of this place. This rounded hill, it's absolutely just a delight. We've got quite a wind. You can see our crab angle here. Quite a wind. It's struggling a little, isn't it? Look at that. Whoa, what's going on here? Have I just switched something off? I think I've switched something off. Oh, we're at the missed approach point, that's why. Okay. So let's switch off the autopilot. My bad. Autopilot is off. Yaw damper is off. Goodness me, this is really... Right. So we got to the missed approach point, so the aircraft veered off to the missed approach. Okay, so that was my bad. Shouldn't have been looking at the scenery. So we've got still one stage of flap out. Airport is in sight. We've got a lot of wind here. Goodness me, that's a lot of crosswind. You can see that aircraft is... Right, so I'm going to get full flaps out. Get aligned with that runway. We've got one white, 3 red, so I'm correcting for that. That was a particularly badly flown approach. I didn't expect the winds to be this bad though. Oops. Look at that hill, it's fabulous, isn't it? Right, 2 white, 2 red, so we're on the glide. Sligo, here we are. Water at both ends. Okay. Keep that centre line. Keep that centre line. Keep that centre line. Keep that centre line. Whoops, that's a bit of an arrival. Bit of power, bit of power, bit of power. Oh, there we go. Into beta range. And out. So that's how you don't fly this approach. It was all going well until the last bit. Never mind. Okay. So I really shouldn't have gone out for a sightseeing tour for real short finals. Really not good. But I do love Sligo. I think it's very, very scenic area. It's come to a stop. Just to show you, look at this. Okay, so taxi off, so flaps are up. There we go. I think Aer Lingus fly ATRs into Sligo. So we'll get the other side of these hold lines, will come to stop and do some cleaning up. Right, I've put the flaps up already because I don't want them to get damaged with little stones. So we can get our taxi light on. Yeah, see that maybe it doesn't move in this particular aircraft, but in the one we had for X-plane, this used to auto select. But you can see it's working though, because the tanks are even. Right, so let's get parked up. We'll go park here on the left somewhere. There we go, get some fuel. Okay, so come to a stop. Parking brake can come on. Landing light off. Going to bring the aircraft into the idle gate. Low idle. Let the engine cool down a little bit. Inertial separator can come off now. Transponder can come off. Stand by. The engine we can shut down, so bring it into idle cutoff. Okay, so autopilot trims can go. Oops. Do that again. Autopilot trims, fuel selector off, fuel pump off, ignition relieve auto, starter is off, then we can switch the cabin lights off, then we can do strobe light off, nav lights off, generator off, battery off, and the crash bar down. Okay, don't know why this door was giving such jip. Maybe I didn't see that. I don't know. Who knows? Let's go to the back and open up the back door. There we go, sitting in the back seat. And unlock. Okay, external view. Welcome to Sligo. hope that was of interest, and look forward to flying some TBM flights with you. Okay, take care. See you soon. Bye now.